Welcome back to Black News Tonight. Now, my next guest is a football legend. I'm talking about none other than Keyshawn Johnson. After leading the USC Trojans to victory in 1996 Rose Bowl, Johnson was the first overall pick of the New York Jets in the NFL draft. And he had an illustrious career in the league, playing, forget this, 11 seasons and winning a Super Bowl in 2002 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He now shares his experience and expertise on camera and behind the microphone as an NFL analyst and an ESPN radio host. And if that's not enough, he also has a brand new book out entitled The Forgotten First, co-authored with Bob Glauber. And Houston tells a fascinating story of one of the most significant cultural shifts in pro football history, about four black football pioneers who reintegrated the NFL in 1946, a year before Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in Major League Baseball. Joining me now is Mr. Keyshawn Johnson, and welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot. I'm glad to be here, man.
Now, you know what? Most people had no clue that the NFL was integrated twice. So when did you first learn about this, and what was your immediate reaction?
To be honest with you, I learned about it about 2 years ago when I started this project. It just, I didn't know. I mean, like it was something that wasn't on our radar. It wasn't something that was taught to us in schools growing up. I mean, we obviously knew about Jackie Robinson in 1947, and we knew about Martin Luther King, and we knew about Rosa Parks and Muhammad Ali, and we only knew about those that they taught us about in school as we learned. Like, I didn't even know about Black Wall Street until like 2 years ago, right? And you learn more about certain things as we continue to have this unrest in our country. We learned about a lot more about our heritage and who we are just because enough was enough, right? And so it's just one of those situations where I know about it now, so I felt like I had to do something about it.
And now you're bringing the book and the story to the world. So talk to me about why you feel it's important for this book, this material, to be brought to the masses right now.
Well, you got to think, Kenny Washington, Woody Stroll, Marion Motley, Bill Willis, they broke the color barrier, so to speak. You mentioned, as you intro me in, there was about a 12-year hiatus where black players were not allowed to play in the National Football League because there was bigotry, there was racism, and flat out they didn't want us to be a part of something that they probably knew African Americans would dominate and take over, and that would be a way of economic success. So, so when you look at it, you say to yourself, okay, why do you want to be involved in this project? Well, it's important because it's a powerful message of history, and it connects the history of the past with the present and the racism that black players still to this day face in certain situations, whether it's online or Instagram or Twitter or some of the things that people say when they don't get their way, whether it's Colin Kaepernick trying to send a message about disrespect and the treatment of African-American players through police brutality, and then the message is hijacked and they turn it into something that's racist and try and make it seem like black people hate white people and white people hate black people and all of those sort of things. So it's still stuff that we deal with in today's society. So I wanted to be able to share that experience from 1946 to the experiences that we still deal with in 2021.
Yeah, and it's part of that racism which makes it so difficult for people of color to be the first at anything. So what do you think motivated these four pioneers to keep striving forward?
I think it's opportunity. When we interview, obviously we couldn't interview them because they've gone on to higher places, but when we interview family members and things of that nature, it was important for many of them to stand on the ground in which they feel that they belong. Woody Stroll, for instance, was an actor. He was a wrestler. The NFL didn't work out to the level that it needed to, but even after that, he once told Sports Illustrated that he felt like, it was if he had to integrate heaven, he wouldn't want that job. That's just how hard and the things that they had to endure in doing those things. But guess what? They never quit. And they continued despite death threats and things being thrown at them and things being said to them. they continue to march on, just like in 1947 that Jackie Robinson did. It's just amazing when you look at stuff. It's so funny when you look at things today like they were years ago, and you still see similarities. It's crazy because you see how Caucasian people treated blacks and minorities back then, but here we are today that do things to give an appearance almost to look like black people, whether it's tanning, whether it's injections in lips, or whether it's all. So when I look at all that stuff, I look back and I go to myself, that's so wild that those people thought that way then, but yet here we are today, and it's almost like a huge transformation for that sort of bigotry then, wanting to be something different now. And everybody grows, there's no question about it.
Yeah.
There's an owner that owned the Washington football team, which was the Washington Redskins. George Preston Marshall was one of the biggest racists there was that owned an NFL team. He once said that he would not put a black person on his team until Negroes start putting whites on the Harlem Globetrotters. And it's just like, where's your mind at in the sickness in which you need help and you didn't seek to go get? You tried not to have black players on your team deliberately. You moved games to the Florida, the South areas because you knew African Americans couldn't play in the South in those days. So you did that deliberately. Like, where is your thought process, your mind? How do you sleep at night?
Yeah, well, that's why I'm hoping your book helps open people's eyes and awareness to some of the issues that were going on then and continue to go on now. And I know that you do some of that enlightening on your shows as well. You're ESPN morning radio show host, and you also are regular on TV as an analyst. So I got to ask you, which one do you enjoy more or love more, playing or analyzing sport?
Well, I like analyzing it. I don't want to get hit no more. I took my abuse. I'm good now.
Right. A lot less painful to just analyze and talk about other people. Well, I know you've been talking about your nephew a lot, and I know you may have imparted your career wisdom on him, NFL star Michael Thomas. And OU, got Ohio State University. Good shout out to them, my home state. But, you know, how is he doing? I just want to ask, how is he doing after he's recovering from his ankle surgery?
I think he's doing fine. I haven't spoken to him. What I tend to do is I leave. I don't get involved. He's a professional. He's grown now, so I don't get involved with him on a day-to-day. I watch him from afar. And when the season's over or they make it to the playoffs, then we could get together and family gatherings and talk. But I literally, on purpose, do not pick up the phone and do not bother him or call him or do anything. Just let him be him and let him ball out and do what he do so he could, continue to have the success that he's having, opposed to being a helicopter uncle and hovering over him like I know everything.
Yeah, well, sometimes the best advice is no advice at all, and I'm sure he comes to you when he needs you. So continue the great work on and off the camera, and good luck with this amazing book of telling this tale that so many people need to hear. Keyshawn, thank you so much for joining us on the show. And Keyshawn's groundbreaking book, The Forgotten First, is now available at bookstores across the nation, so please go check it out. And my humble suggestion, just saying, maybe you should try to purchase it from an independent black bookstore.